Welcome, friends, to the Solid Signal podcast for the week of February 24th, 2014. I wanted to talk this week about aiming an antenna. I know for some people that's going to seem like an extremely simple topic, but on the other hand, we have been getting a lot of requests for instructions on how to aim an antenna. There's a number of good resources at the Solid Signal forums, forums.solidsignal.com, and you can search for antenna aiming and that sort of thing. But I'll just go over it really quickly for those who prefer to listen instead of read. Of course, the first thing to do before you aim an antenna is get all your ducks in a row. Make sure you have your grounding supplies. Make sure you have the antenna, the mast, if you're going to mount it to a chimney, that you've got your chimney mount or your J mount. Put everything up as early as possible. Make sure you've got everything set before you get to the aiming phase. Might even be a good idea to stretch this out into 2 days so that you don't feel rushed. You're also going to want to consult a website like antennaweb.org or tvfool.com, or even just pull out a map to try to figure out where your broadcast towers are, how far away, and how high up. This is going to give you an idea of how high you're going to need to put that antenna mast and how you're going to need to point it. If there are trees nearby, any sort of obstruction, you're going to need a pretty high mast. You can use a signal finder like Antennas Direct's SM22, but really you can use an app like TV Towers USA if you've got an iPhone, or as I said, just a plain old paper map will do just fine if you're willing to put in the effort. Once you've got the site selected, the mast put up, all the grounding ready, you're ready to aim. And that's where it's not that hard, although it could take a second person. Get up on the roof if you need to, and point the antenna where you think it's supposed to go. Tighten it down slightly so it doesn't move, and then either you or someone else is going to need to do a scan for channels on the television that you've got connected to the antenna. If you're lucky enough to have a handheld TV, that can cut some time down, of course, but these tend to have weaker tuners, so it's best to use the TV that you're actually going to use for this purpose, and I don't necessarily recommend bringing a large LCD up on the roof. That's where a friend, family member, or neighbor comes in handy. They can do the scan for channels, tell you how many channels that they're getting, and if they're getting everything that you want to be getting. If they are, well, you're all done. The thing about antennas is there's really, once it works, it works. You might want to zero in a little bit if your TV has some sort of signal meter, but if you're getting all the channels you're going to get, especially if you do your aiming on a cloudy day anyway, not a rainy one, because I do not recommend going up to a roof when there's a chance of rain, but a cloudy one, then you're pretty much done. If you don't get all the channels that you want to get, take a look at your maps again and try going off axis by about 5 degrees one way, 5 degrees the other way. This may help you avoid an obstruction that's in place that you don't even see because it's miles away. Every time you move that antenna, you're going to need to scan for channels again, and also make sure you check every channel that's important to you. If you're not getting everything that you need, still a few missing channels, that sort of thing, you can try radically changing the way you aim your antenna, or you can look one more time to see if you've really purchased the right one. Adding a preamplifier sometimes helps, but really only in those areas where you're really, really close to getting good reception, but you're not quite there. That's because digital TV relies on using signal-to-noise ratios, and an amplifier really is going to amplify the signal as well as at least some of the noise. Once you're satisfied with the way you've aimed the antenna, tighten everything up. Remember, don't over-tighten, because a lot of times masts and straps are made of aluminum and they deform easily, but tighten just enough so that nothing's going to move, and where necessary use zip ties or cable clamps to make sure that cable just isn't flying along in the wind. This is another great opportunity to check your grounding and to make sure that you're covered no matter what. It's not likely your antenna is going to get hit by lightning, but hey, you don't want anything to happen if it does. Now, go back down and watch free TV. That's all there is to it. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have an idea for a tutorial or for any podcast of any kind, click that orange Suggest a Topic button at the upper right-hand corner of the Solid Signal podcast. I haven't been mentioning that lately because I figure you all probably know it, but I do get new listeners from time to time. And until then, have a great week.